Welcome to the Possibility Action Network podcast. I'm your host, Stephen Middleton, aka Possibility Man. We're committed to bringing you guests who strive to better people's lives and serve as a force for good in the world. Our guest today is Deanne Deaville. She is a healthy lifestyle coach, a workshop facilitator, and is a best-selling author. Deanne, welcome to the show today.
Thank you, Stephen, and thank you for having me here today. Happy to be here.
Look, I'm looking forward to our conversation, but first, this programming note to those who are watching or listening: your support matters and is appreciated. Follow, like, share, and subscribe wherever you find this podcast. Our sponsor information is below the description of the show. Once again, Diane, back to you. Really enjoy having you today. My first question, I got to tell you this. I found you on LinkedIn, but I want to share with you what attracted me to your profile. I'm going to read it to you, and I want to see what you tell us about this. It says, I'm quoting now, from stressed to satisfied. I thought, I got to talk to her. So what was that about?
Well, this really came about from my own experience several years ago of just being in this, what we call the rat race, and on that hamster wheel, perpetually running and, am I getting anywhere kind of thing. Well, we think we are. We think that we're following the American dream, but it's constant, it's stressful. And I thought, this is not going to be sustainable if I keep this up. And sure enough, within a couple of years of that, along with many other life experiences, I was diagnosed with cancer. And so it really makes me rethink things. Here I am, a nutritionist. I walk the talk. I'm a healthy weight. I meditate. I do all the right things. I eat the right foods. I don't smoke. I don't drink a lot. And here I'm the one who gets cancer. But I knew the pace that I was going at was not sustainable. And so I was very stressed. And so the whole from stress to satisfied was kind of born. It's my healthy by heart kind of concept, because honestly, what we are doing in our lives today in this society, as it has developed, we're all about doing, and we're not really about being. We're not really human beings, we're human doings. Wow. And there's very little satisfaction in that. And at the end of the day, we're totally exhausted and we get up to do it all over again. It's like, but at the end of your life, what was worthwhile? And when we start looking at what our values are and what's truly important to us, this is where we need to start living today. Mm-hmm. It's kind of like, the old bucket list. You make your bucket list, but it's not for someday. It's like, let's start working on this now.
Mm-hmm. I see. Now, let me ask you, how's your health today? How are you doing?
Pretty good. I mean, it's more than 5 years, and my oncologist, the second one, who also I fired, he gave me 6 months to live if I didn't do what he said. Oh my. With the whole chemotherapy and radiation, et cetera, which I did not do. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, I'm always keeping my health as a priority for sure. Mm-hmm. You just never know. I don't take it for granted.
Yeah, that's great. That makes sense. Well, you shared a lot in that opening. I want to unpack this just a bit. What profession were you in before you entered into this space of healthy lifestyle coaching?
Well, I have been a nutritionist for 20 years.
Oh, okay. Mm-hmm.
But alongside of that, I was also working in Silicon Valley here. I'm in the South Bay, south of San Francisco, north of Monterey, where Silicon Valley exists, and all these, high-tech startups, or, you drive down a few streets and you just see all the big names, all the big companies, right? And so we were in this area, and we were also in this space, and we were in semiconductor tests. So I was helping him run his business, doing all the marketing. And I was technically the CEO of the company. I was the forward facing to some customers, and he was the engineer, and he liked to be on the back seat. So I was doing that while also pursuing my passion of nutrition. And it's a lot to juggle, especially like 2 separate careers, essentially, along with 2 young kids and maintaining a household. Anybody knows that's a lot of work.
Yeah, that is a lot of work. Yeah,
it's a formula for a lot of stress.
Yeah. So are you linking then? Is there, from where you sit, is there a connection between distress, obviously, overstress, and disease in your mind, or
Oh,
maybe so?
absolutely.
Mhm,
Absolutely. Because if you look at the root of the word disease,
mhm,
it's dis-ease,
mhm.
right? You're ill at ease. You're not at ease. There is a Chinese proverb that says, relaxation is who you are, and stress is who you think you should be.
Wow.
And we do this in life. I should do this. I should go back to school. I should have this degree. I should have this car. I should be saving to buy this house. I should go to the gym today. We do all this shoulding all over ourselves. And this creates stress within us, which means dis-ease.
Mhm.
And if you're not living in alignment with who you are at ease, in other words, relaxed, disease of some sort will manifest.
Mm. You just gave me a mindfulness moment as you went through that. I literally relaxed the moment you said it. So thank you for that moment. So you were a nutritionist, you're doing the right things, you're eating healthy, practicing mindfulness, and this thing came up. So was that what prompted you to look into lifestyle coaching, or was there something else?
I was on that path already. I was on the self-development path for
Mhm.
years. And it was around the time of my diagnosis that I was also going through some more training for Jack Canfield's Success Principles training course. So I was on this path already.
Mhm.
And because I knew that what I was doing was not sustainable, it was not following my true passion, it was not really doing what I wanted to do. And so I'm started already migrating out of that more clinical side, and there is a place for it and I still like it. But early on, it was very obvious to me early on that, wow, everybody's problems really seem to be rooted in stress. So
Mhm.
I became what I would call, myself the stress management queen. I learned all kinds of stress management techniques and I taught them, whether it's meditation or tapping or qigong, or there's so many
Yeah.
fantastic ways of mitigating the problems that exacerbate from too much stress. But ultimately, it's still damage control.
Yeah. Yeah.
You need to go
So,
deeper.
mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. And then I was looking at the way you brand yourself, and that is a healthy lifestyle coach. What are you trying to convey in that title, healthy lifestyle coach?
A lot of people today, we're raised in this environment where we think if something goes wrong in our body, it's like just some defect of some sort. But our bodies are actually pretty perfect. Usually the defect is because we're doing something that is not in alignment with good health and wellness, right? Whether it's being exposed to chemicals or eating the wrong foods, and maybe it's right for you, but it's not right for me, right? It's all very individual. And so there's a deep correlation for sure, but it goes so much deeper. It's not and most people know we're supposed to eat more fruits and vegetables, not drink the sodas, right? It's
Right.
not about what we know, it's why we're doing what we're doing.
Mm.
So it's down on that psychological level. And sometimes it's a self-sabotage, or other times we're doing just what we know to be doing. It's like that hamster wheel. We're just repeating the same actions we've done over and over because it's habitual.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So a healthy lifestyle is anchored in what types of behaviors?
Whatever is right for you.
So let me ask you this. When you said that earlier, it occurred to me, this is pretty difficult to sort out.
Yeah.
How does a person figure out what's right for them?
I like to start with values.
Okay.
What's important to you? Now, lots of people say, spirituality is important or family is important, and they say that this is an anchor in their life, and it's a value.
Mm.
And we want to dive into that. Okay, what does that look like to you? Because one person might say, I value family. It's a very high priority in my life. And the way I would show that is by getting a good job and bringing home a good income and providing well for my family.
Mhm.
And somebody else might say, no, it's about spending time with your family. And those two people, if they're married, that might be a great situation for them. If one person is off bringing home the bacon, basically,
Mhm.
and the other person is spending the time with the family, that might really work out. Other people might say, you're never here. You're not helping me. And so I like to start with values. So what's right for you? What's right for your partner? And really, it's about coming together and understanding our beliefs around our values, because beliefs and values are not the same. We often use those two words interchangeably, but they're not the same at all. And a belief is basically how you think a value should be carried out in life. I believe that the family value is shown by working hard and making good money. I believe that it's shown by time, right? Beliefs can be changed, they can be questioned.
Yeah.
So I start with values.
Okay, I understand. So your healthy lifestyle coaching looks at a person and what the person is attempting to, if it's a couple, what they're trying to achieve together. But so it's not just, you're not excluding nutrition, because that's a part, that's also something in your
Absolutely.
wheelhouse as well, but you're also looking at being in alignment with your values as one of the rungs in healthy lifestyle coaching.
Absolutely.
Okay,
Yep.
good. So that's what else? What else belongs in that wheelhouse of yours? Healthy lifestyle.
It's really about living with intention. And when you wake up the next day, what do that's a gift. First of all, not everybody gets to open their eyes the next morning, right? But when we have that opportunity, what am I going to do with this day? What's my intention? And a lot of people just kind of wait and see what happens. They pick up their phone. It's like, oh, here's an email to respond to. Oh, there's a text. Oh, I get a phone call. And it's all about reaction to whatever's coming at them. And we can really, truly create our lives. I mean, your whole podcast is about possibility.
Indeed.
And taking action. And we have so much potential untapped because we don't necessarily know what to do. We don't know where to direct our attention, intention, action. And sometimes we need a little guidance with that.
So you think a coach, of course you do, because you are a coach, can partner with an individual to help them become clear on their values, their intentions, and the goals of their lives?
Exactly. And then once we start living on purpose, to our purpose, in alignment with who we are, with our values, we naturally also want to take better care of ourselves. And that takes a little time too. And we can look at all of that at the same time, can run some lab work and see where we need to make some tweaks. And
yeah, so it is possible then, Possibility Action Network again, it is possible for an individual to work with someone like you and grow and create a better experience of their lives. Because they've had specific time. Yeah.
Absolutely. That's where from stressed to satisfied comes from.
So it's possible for a person then to achieve satisfaction in their life if they work at it.
Absolutely. Yeah. If people wait to see what's delivered to them and they react to it, it's not usually very satisfying.
Yeah. So how does nutrition show up in your practice?
A lot of people still come to me based on a health challenge that they're experiencing. And so I look at that, and some people are really looking only for more clinical type nutrition, and other people are looking more for a coach. But oftentimes people don't necessarily know what they want. And so we have a discovery call. We just have a conversation about what's going on in your life. You tell me about your whole situation, who you're living with, your day-to-day normal experiences, your habits. What do you want out of life? Are there kids at home? There's lots of things that we look at. And because having kids at home is a huge factor as far as time and convenience and nutrition, like how do you get dinner on the table when you walk in the door at 6 p.m.? And, so there's a lot of challenges, and it's really about working with the person of where they are, but nutrition absolutely plays a part in it, because if we don't feel good and we're not healthy, it's much harder to think of what's possible for ourselves.
Yeah.
It's hard to dream.
Yeah, and nutrition is a big deal. This is really funny. One day I asked my smartphone, I said, my smart speaker, I said, how many kids, what percentage of kids it could have been South Carolina, or it could have been America, the United States, I'm not sure, are obese? And the response was 1 in 5. And I thought, oh my gosh, that's criminal. So from your standpoint, though, there is something that parents can do about that.
Absolutely. Right. And on that note, specifically, 1 in 5 is 20%. And that is, I'm assuming that's kids.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
if we look at the whole population of the United States, 66% of our entire population is overweight or obese.
Wow.
I think the obesity is around 45%. I haven't checked statistics lately, but of course there's something that we can do about that. The main challenge that I see is in the way information is presented to us, because there's been this low fat craze now for decades. It was based on a flawed study, and they just took a little part of it and they ran with it, and it has made the rounds and the headlines year after year. I mean, you still see on food labels like no fat or low fat, because that's what people think. If they eat fat, they'll get fat. When it depends on the type of fat, but if you're eating the good fat, you'll lose fat. It's totally the opposite. And it's the sugars and the simple carbohydrates that are packing the pounds on. And most people just don't know that. So they think I'm eating right, I'm eating low fat, I'm having my 6 or 8 servings of grains a day, when in actuality, that's what's leading to it.
Yeah, I mean, there's one thing, you're right. I mean, there's the label on the can, and then there's your label at nutrition sticker on the back, and they're very different. So,
and most people don't know how to read them, and we're not taught this.
Right, right. So, you know, if someone came to you and they said, look, you know, I'm dealing with obesity and I want to become healthier. Let's forget about, you know, how we look, but just become healthier. And they tell, I have the choice of the pill or doing something in my kitchen, but I don't know what to do. Would you tell them to do the pill to start, or would you say that there is something you can do in your kitchen? What's your feeling?
Yeah, no, I definitely start with lifestyle and food choices first. Drugs last. Holistic health first, drugs last. When there is a need, then there's life. Western medicine can be absolutely life-saving. There's no question. But that's really the last place we look. There's, if you've tried all else and it truly is nothing else, okay. But no, there's almost always something we can do. Starting in pretty easy.
Well, I got you on that point. On just that point alone, can you think of any success stories of anyone who came in and said, you know, I mean, let's say 30 pounds. 30 pounds is a lot of weight. There's a little, you know, Deanne, I want to lose 30 pounds. Have you ever seen anyone achieve that in, let's say, a year?
Oh, absolutely. 30 pounds in a year is absolutely manageable. It's when people come to me and say, I want to lose 30 pounds in a month. It's like, well, I mean, it can be done if you're standing on the scale, but we want to do this healthfully and in a way that is sustainable. And we don't want to lose weight too quickly, because our any toxins that we take in are stored in the adipose tissue, in the fat. So as we are losing that fat and it's getting broken down and utilized, those toxins get released into our system, which can make us sick. And so we want to do it on a sustainable and measurable and slow way as we're clearing out toxins. Otherwise people just feel brain fog and totally fatigued, and they don't feel like they're getting better.
Right.
They feel miserable. So we want to do it in a sustainable way. 30 pounds in a year, you bet. There's lots of places we start.
That's good news for a lot of people. And I want to stay on these kinds of, you know, obesity, overweight. That's one of those chronic diseases. I want to stay with this for a little bit. I like to say this. I went to the CDC's website, the Center for Disease Control, and then list those chronic diseases, 1, 2, 3, 4, and included among them was high cholesterol. Can someone working with someone like you do something about it? So we already said, you said a person under normal circumstances can deal with weight. What about high cholesterol?
Absolutely. Cholesterol is another one of those myths. In fact, there is a great book of that title, The Great Cholesterol Myth. Again, it's been vilified in the media and it's run rampant, and it's been blockbuster for many pharmaceutical companies. And back in this, I'd say around 1975, somewhere in there, maybe even 1980, a normal, considered healthy cholesterol level is 300.
What?
Yep.
That would alarm my doctor today.
It has changed. And so I look at a person's cholesterol level and think 300, that could be healthy. It may not be healthy. And it's not about the good or bad cholesterol, because that's also a myth. There is no such thing as good or bad. That's what they call it.
What?
But yeah, I know. One is carrying plaque to the site, so we think that's bad, and the other one is carrying plaque out of the site, so we think that's good. It's just a mechanism. So it's not good nor bad, and there are so many other markers to look at that Western medicine generally doesn't look at. But yes, we absolutely can look at cholesterol, and it's so many changes you can make.
Okay, I'm going to trip you up on the third one that I've noticed at the CDC website, and that is blood pressure. Let me preface this by saying my sense of blood pressure is very tricky. It's like your credit score. It's all over the place. So yeah. So I mean, what can you help someone who may be all over the place with them? Is it possible? Let me ask the question this way: is it possible to stabilize blood pressure without medication?
Absolutely. I have one client currently. She's working with me, and she has cancer right now. And she has been on a pretty low level of blood pressure medication, a really low prescription, because it was not horribly high hypertension, but she was still on daily medication. And we started making dietary changes. I started working with her around middle of July. And I think it was the middle of September, it was about a month ago, that she said, I had to get my blood pressure medication checked because I was feeling really weak and tired. And I checked my own blood pressure and it was low. So they went back to her doctor, and now she's off the medication. And we weren't working on blood pressure at all, because I have a different focus, having cancer as a priority. And so the changes that we're making in her life, not just diet, but also lifestyle, and her blood pressure is now back to normal, and she's off medication.
That's amazing. I mean, that's good news. I'm slowing down because I want to make sure that people hear this. I mean, that's absolutely amazing. Yeah.
And one thing you can do right away is eliminate caffeine.
Oh.
1 cup of coffee a day can raise blood pressure by 20 points.
Wow. What about colas? Does that make a difference?
Yeah.
So anything with caffeine in it could elevate your blood pressure.
The cola has a double whammy, depending on how you make your coffee. But the cola also has how many teaspoons of sugar in it?
Gotcha. Okay.
Sugar raises blood pressure.
Okay. Wow. I did not know that. Wow.
So if you have coffee with a bunch of sugar, well, then you're doing it too. But if you have your black coffee, just caffeine, that also can do it. Now, everybody's different. Everybody reacts to caffeine differently. So this isn't across the board.
Yeah.
There's no absolutes or definitives, but it's something to look at.
Yeah. I mean, you mentioned the C word. I'm almost afraid to say it. The C word is very scary to us, but you just reported, though, that you're working with someone, and not only that, but your own case. So you think there are things that people can do even when they're faced with this scary C word.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
And nutrition is significant in that, what you can do.
Yeah, it was probably close to 100 years ago now that Otto Warburg discovered something about cancer cells, and it's known as the Warburg effect. And he realized, and he noticed and observed, that cancer cells don't behave like normal healthy cells, in that a normal healthy cell will respirate oxygen, but a cancer cell does not. It ferments glucose. And again, this is discovered, I don't know, probably 80, 90 years ago, close to 100. And it's called the Warburg effect. Anybody can look it up. And the gist of that means cancer thrives on glucose. Now, what is glucose? We think of it as sugar, but it's beyond sugar. White rice has no sugar in it, but it's 100% carbohydrate, and it's a simple carbohydrate. And that, if you already have an issue with balancing blood sugar, which is related to obesity, of course, diabetes, or any of these other chronic illnesses that we see, then we have far too much glucose in our system, and we become resistant basically to the hormones that are trying to equalize it, because we're just flooding our body with the wrong kinds of food. It's all about what we're eating and what we should be eating. And once this takes over and more cells are fermenting glucose rather than respirating oxygen, then we have this impact. We have the source of the tumor begins.
Wow. Yeah. So rice, white rice,
Sure.
yeah, bleached rice is not really
Any rice, brown rice,
including brown and wild rice.
sure. Look at the label. Now, some rices are going to have different properties and like more protein, and you're getting more fiber with the brown rice than you are with the white rice, but it's all a carbohydrate. All of it.
Okay. So you mentioned diabetes. What about type 2? I mean, can something be done with that?
Sure, absolutely. Lots of people have reversed their type 2 diabetes. Once again, diet and lifestyle changes. People just don't know necessarily what is a truly healthy food, and they're buying the rhetoric and the marketing and wondering why they're not well.
Okay. Well, I'm going to ask you a very difficult question, because for the ones that have asked so far, you were saying, yep, we can do something about that. What about neurological conditions, be it something like in the category of MS or in the category of a neuromuscular condition?
Sure. Yeah.
Like those are tough ones that seem to be outside of biology, but something else.
Yeah. Right. It does seem like it's outside of biology, but is it?
You're the expert.
It's within our body. Now, MS largely can be caused by or attributed to or certainly exacerbated by heavy metal toxicity. And so we can look at hair analysis and blood work to see where is heavy metals, where are they present? And is there a high load of it? And there's ways you can chelate heavy metals out of the system. It takes time, it's challenging. And there's lots of other therapies out there. They're making some great headway, especially with photobiomodulation. That's red light, infrared and near infrared. They're making amazing forward advances with this, with cognitive decline, etc. It's amazing.
MS is more, neurological. So, that's the easier of the two challenges that I just gave you. But with MD or any neuromuscular, we're dealing with muscle wasting. I don't think I've come across anyone who says that muscles can be regenerated. What do you think?
Of course they can. Of course they can be regenerated. Absolutely. Again, we got to clear the toxins, and we got to make sure that our system is able to break down foods. As we age, we make less and less hydrochloric acid, the stomach acid. We make less. And so we're not able to break down the proteins as much, which then becomes a breeding ground for parasites or H. pylori or all kinds of things. So not only are we not able to break down proteins, but we're getting these uninvited guests living in our bodies, which contribute to all kinds of health problems.
This is very interesting, because you are sharing optimism. You're sharing possibility. And I thought that I thought I would have gotten you though with MS and MD. I really did. But then you maintain this
Things are challenging for sure. But so everybody has heard of some stories of these miraculous spontaneous recoveries. And if it has happened to one person, how did they do it? Why aren't we studying that? If it's possible, why aren't we studying them and what they did and trying to recreate that?
Well, I'm looking at our healthcare system today. I mean, my gosh, I don't know how much in the USA, we're in the USA here. I mean, millions and millions, maybe billions of dollars, but yet with all of the research, with all of the medications, we aren't solving some of these problems. I don't understand. Why are we where we are, you think, in your opinion, if you care to render?
Well, it's a long time coming. It's been more than 100 years. And how far down the rabbit hole do I want to go on this? So about 100 years ago, there was a report called the Flexner Report. And it came out basically because this was the rise of the Industrial Revolution, and we are making chemicals, and we could see the profits in chemicals. And healthcare was at a really interesting point, because there's lots of schools for chiropractic and naturopathy and homeopathy. And but there's no true money to be made if a person is healthy, at least in the healthcare business. There's only money to be made if a person is not healthy. And if I am able to help a person back to wellness, now I don't cure anybody. I will never claim to cure anybody, because your body is the one doing the work. I can help facilitate and make suggestions, but you're the one doing the healing, not me. But there's no money in that. And in order to create industry, and this is again the rise of this industrial revolution, in order to create industry, we needed to become more, using more chemicals, because that not only introduces toxins into our world and into our body, but then you can also use a different toxin to help remove it. And so it just began literally over 100 years ago now. And it's a long, very long story of big power and a lot of patience. And I don't mean patience as in people becoming patients, but patience as in, allowing a lot of time to go by, just knowing the trajectory that it's taken, and that it might take 100 years or more.
Yeah.
And they were very patient people. And over the years, more holistic health methods have been shunned and called things like that, they're quacks.
Yeah.
Versus modern medicine is the way to go, better living through chemistry. And there is a place for it, for sure. I'm not saying that there isn't. Western medicine absolutely can save your life.
Yeah.
But they have a harder time with the people that are in between of bringing them back to true health, because how do you bring somebody back to true health when you're interfering with a drug, which is essentially a toxin?
Yeah.
So we can't treat a person with toxins and expect them to get better. Now, there are times when it's necessary and it's very helpful, and then we deal with that later. But right for the interim, absolutely. And I'm not a doctor. I don't prescribe them. I send them to their doctor. That's fine. But yeah, it's just been a long path. So how we got here is just, people have great ideals when they go to medical school. They really want to help people. They really do. And so they buy into the system. They understand, the mechanisms that they're taught. And it's a reductionist method in that, if this, if you have a problem with this, we're going to dive in really deep and look at this specific problem. And we want to get to the smallest and the lowest common denominator. Versus holistic health is backing up and seeing the whole picture. Just because my toe isn't directly connected to my thumb does not mean that they don't interact and communicate. They absolutely do. We're one system.
Yeah.
And so that's why, as any holistic health practitioner, we look at the whole person, and not just their own body, but where they live. What's their environment like?
Yeah.
What kind of house do they live in? Who do they live with? It all matters.
Wow. Yeah, it all matters. I'm also curious about your thinking regarding how our culture, the entire American culture, rich to poor, I don't care where you are, it's like we've been sold on the notion that the drug takes care of us.
Yes.
I can think of a number of families now, individuals who say, blood pressure, I'm going to fill my prescription.
Right.
High cholesterol, I'm going to fill my, and it goes, the list goes on. Even being overweight, I would get my prescription, I'm going to lose weight. Or even do something more drastic about getting my stomach stapled. Where did we adopt this idea that the pharmaceutical or the surgery solves our problem?
Well, it's an interesting question, because I think as time has gone by and we're not taught anything about how to be healthy, and we're not truly taught about critical thinking, we're educated in a programming way of how to do things. This is how you do it, rather than, is that the only way it's going to be done? Are there other possibilities? It's a more creative and expansive way of being. And I think early on that schools kind of assume that parents will fill in where the schools don't. The schools are going to teach things like math and science, and music used to be a thing, and PE used to be a thing, and now those are even going away. And they're assuming that that's going to be done at home, in a home where there's often two parents working, if the parents are together, and kids are going from this house to this house. And So the stable environment isn't there, and the education isn't there, especially if the parents today were also the product of the prior generation where they didn't learn either. So they don't even know, even if they were a stay-at-home parent, they don't know what to teach because they didn't learn it.
Yeah. And this makes me understand that a healthy lifestyle coach is more important than ever, because you're talking about not only nutrition, but also our relationships, because you say both of those parts are important for a healthy
Absolutely.
life. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And that's really where my focus is more these days. And everything in life is a relationship. Everything. We have a relationship with ourselves. We
Mhm.
have a relationship with coworkers, our neighbors, our children, our spouse, any family members. We have relationships all around us. Some are very close and intimate. And when I say intimate, I don't mean in a sexual manner, but intimate in that we know deep secrets about each other and we trust each other and we value this, this deep connection that we have. And today, a lot of this is getting lost.
Yeah.
Today, especially in our country, we are very divided and
Yeah.
we're quick to divide and label people. So therefore, if you don't support Biden, then you must be a Trumper.
Yeah.
It's not, there can't be any other possibilities. It's
Right.
either this or that. And if you, and looking at all the rights today of, gun rights
Yeah.
or pro-life, the Roe v. Wade overturning, there's so many or if in labels, like if you're racist, there's so many labels that people are very quick to judge and put people in a category, which is isolating, it's limiting, and it separates us.
Mm-hmm.
And in some manner, it separates us at our heart, and it's
Yeah.
impacting our health. We need community today more than ever. But it's so easy for people to just say, wow, you're not the person I thought you were. I
Right.
thought you were a Democrat, and now you're a Trumper.
Right.
Whether they are or not, just because they don't support Biden, they just automatically think that. And they go unfriend. And it's
Right.
so quick to eliminate relationships.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's
I mean,
hurting
and
us.
at the core, I think in our hearts, many of us know that there is a better way. For example, and help me with this one. I'm just giving it to you where I'm feeling it. Many of us go to church if you're a part of a certain religion, or mosque, or
Mhm.
synagogue, or spiritual community,
Right.
and we pray, and we do all. So we know that there is something else here about us, even though we may not practice it on a daily basis. What is your sense of this?
Of what, spirituality in general?
Well, of how it's as if we, once again, this is my thinking of it. Obviously, we go part way with this notion of mindfulness being important, but we don't go as far as making it a lifestyle. So
Right.
therefore, we may do it in the synagogue, we may do it in the mosque, we may do it in the, whatever. And I'm not attacking any group now,
Mhm.
but we don't do it in the supermarket or as we walk down the street.
Right.
And that can't be good for us.
No, I think that's spirituality dressed in drag. And
Uh,
it looks good when we talk that talk, but are we walking it?
yeah,
What do you really believe? And if people truly believe in their spirituality when they go to church on Sunday or wherever, like you say, if they go to a synagogue or a mosque, wherever they choose to pray, or if they don't go out to a specific building, but they stand among the trees, is that truly who you are? And this is why it comes back to values.
yeah.
Are you walking the talk? Are you living the life that you say is important?
Mhm.
And Gandhi once said, we must be the change we wish to see in the world.
Yeah.
And if I want to see peace in the world, how at peace am I at home? Am I talking in a manner that is peaceful with my coworkers, with my children, my dogs, myself?
Yeah.
Like all the things that I say to myself, again, those shoulds. It's like we should all over ourselves, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Are we really is that cultivating peace?
Yeah.
So it's really important to look at, what we claim are our values, and are we truly living it?
Yeah. I'm recalling now a song from when I was a boy. It was something like, and maybe you sang it too. it was something like, let there be peace on earth and let it begin with me.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
that's something that I recall from my both years. So this is why in your coaching, in your practice, values-based living, authentic living, those things are important to you as you work with clients.
Absolutely. It's
Yeah.
essential. If we don't get to the core of who we are, you're never going to get your health back.
Yeah, yeah. You know, as I talk with you, I'm also noticing that you and I both have done a little bit of laughing as we share this time together. I came across a speech that you made some time ago. I don't know how long ago it was. Here's the title: Laughter is a Serious Business. Do you recall giving that speech? And if you do,
Absolutely do.
what were you trying to convey to those who hear you?
Well, laughter is the best medicine, first of all. So that really was kind of the base of the message of the speech.
Wow.
But it was serious business because when I wrote that speech and gave it, I was thinking about my grandfather. My grandfather was a comedian, and he and his partner, Woodhouse and Hawkins, had the first nationally syndicated radio show in Canada. And it was comedy. And he had these huge, I mean, this is, back in the 50s. So he had these huge journal entry, these big books that were probably 17 inches, tall. And he would every day be writing and working on jokes and the punchline and the timing. And it was very serious business for him. And, he had certain formulas and he tried them out on us. We were always laughing at home at my grandparents' house. So for him, it was a serious business, but ultimately laughter is by far the best medicine. Mm. And when we think of laughter, going back to that Chinese proverb of stress is who you think you should be, relaxation is who you are. Mm-hmm. You can laugh so hard that your belly hurts. That doesn't necessarily sound relaxing, but it is. It's recharging, it's regenerating our heart. Mm-hmm. And we feel it. Whenever we can change that in any moment. If we're feeling stressed, we can say, do I choose to feel stressed right now? First of all, you have to look at your surrounding. If you're really threatened by something, then by all means, get yourself to safety. But right now, if I just read a headline, that's something that could be very distressful for me, but it's not impacting me in this moment. Mm-hmm. Do I want to take that stress on? And a lot of people do without realizing it. Mm-hmm. So think, just in this moment right now, how do you want to feel? We have a choice. And we can change that. I'm mad at my neighbor because he keeps parking and partially blocking my driveway. I mean, we can have that attitude and hold that anger and resentment. Mm-hmm. Or we can say, somebody else is parking on the other side, so he's no place to park. It's not interfering with my life. I'm just going to let it go. If it really is, it's not, I could still exit my car. It's not a problem. Yeah. It's a choice. Do we want to choose stress, or do we want to choose wellness and relaxation? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, so often we're told that we don't have the power. The government has the power. But what you're saying is that we have some power in our lives. We have some power in our emotions. It's like we have some authority at least. I like that.
Absolutely, we have a lot.
I'm so sorry.
We do. We have a lot more than we think.
A lot more than we think. That's right. I tell you, I like to say that I made some lifestyle choices over the last 6 months or so. And I've dropped 30 pounds just by making some lifestyle choices over 6 months. So
there you go.
We do have some power. So laughter then, is that a part of mindfulness as you see it? Or is it something outside of mindfulness?
No, it is because I think that we need to be mindful and aware of our lives and how serious we are. And, lots of people integrate comedy or laughter or having fun into their lives, but lots of people don't. Mm-hmm. They don't even think about it. And so being mindful brings that awareness to them. It's like, am I all work and no play?
Yeah, I see. Yeah, I think Abraham Lincoln also said it, laughter is better than medicine, or something to that effect.
Laughter is the best medicine.
Yeah, best medicine, yeah. So I know you're also an author, and among your writings is, if I got it right, I'm sure you'll correct me if I'm wrong, Women Who Influence. And tell us about that book. What, you know, you're a co-author of that book. What did you all try to do in it, and what was your role in it?
I was one of 30 authors, and it's a collection of stories, kind of a chicken soup for the soul kind of thing.
Okay.
It's a collection of stories of how we can turn our tragedies into a way of growing and helping others. It's that pain to, you know, to growth kind of thing, because nobody gets through life unscathed. And something's going to happen to all of us at some point, right? And I, having gone through cancer, and I recognize how I got there, why I was on that path. So I hope to share information to help other people not take quite the same path. Unfortunately, people still are going to do what they're going to do.
Yeah.
But maybe when they first get that first warning, they might say, huh, I remember reading this story in Women Who Influence. And so there's many, it's a collection of 30. And the whole idea around it is like, wow, this was a gem. This was a little pearl of wisdom that I can take with me and learn from.
That's awesome. I'm just amazed that that you're so transparent about, you know, having had cancer. And you've said it right out of the gate. It's at the start of our conversation. Do you recall at what point in your life experience that you were willing to be so vulnerable as you talk to people? And look, I mean, you know, hundreds, maybe thousands down the road are going to watch this and say, wow, she said that and she got better. But my question to you, at what point were you able to just open on something so private as a health condition?
It was actually quite recent, within probably maybe 2 or 3 years ago. And now the cancer was about 5.5 years ago now. So, you know, the cancer itself is recent, if you will. But vulnerability in general, whether it was cancer or not, is definitely very recent. And I kind of tie those things together because there is power in vulnerability and there's connection in vulnerability. If I'm vulnerable, especially when I'm facilitating a workshop, if I come out of the gate and say, I want you to share your deepest, darkest secret, people will automatically feel like defensive and psychologically not safe. And who is this person and why? I don't know these people around me. But if I myself share something that paves the way and gives permission for others to also feel that safety and also share. And again, this is part of healing, and it's integral in our world and our society. It's in our DNA. Connection is in our DNA. And being vulnerable allows for some level of connection. If we're not vulnerable and we have this wall up, well, there's the disconnect. It's a wall right there. It's literally a physical disconnect.
That's beautiful. And I'll tell you why it touches me in this way. I hear you say that you share in service of someone else. Maybe someone else would hear this message and maybe they would get, you know, a glimmer of hope because of what you shared. Is that what you're, you know?
Absolutely. And I think that's part of, you know, I believe that everybody has a purpose in life, like a reason for being on this planet, but ultimately, whatever that is, whatever is our calling and our true nature in our gifts, ultimately, I think it's about bringing it out to help others. And maybe, you know, my gift is not in music or in art, but there's some amazing artists who that is their gift, and it brings joy to us all. So there's a connection in everything. So we all just do our part, but ultimately I believe that is it, that if we're in service to others, that is the most joy we can get.
Right. I mean, that's amazing, because, you know, we can say, the question is, are we all connected? And then we can say, the answer is, we are all connected, you know? So, yeah, I think so. And that's how I connected with you, because we are all connected. So, Deanne, we've covered a lot, but I want to, before we close, I want to see if there's anything else you care to share with us that we haven't talked about.
We could probably talk for a couple more hours, I'm sure. Every time I say a little story, you pick up on something and run with it.
Yeah.
But I think we covered a lot for today.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I'm going to, with your permission, of course, have your contact information. Would you please make sure that I get that so people can know to reach out to you if they want to, and just to, you know, see what's going on.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I really enjoyed our time together. Gosh, I benefited. As I said, I had a mindfulness moment more than once. In fact, you said it maybe twice, and each time, oh, I just relaxed the moment you said it. So thank you for those moments. Really enjoyed being with you today.
Loved being here. Happy to have a conversation with you. It's really good conversation. Thank you.
Great. Well, you've been listening to or watching the Possibility Action Network podcast with our guest, Deanne Deaville. I'm your host, Stephen Middleton. Until next time, good day.
You are not alone. Just keep on, keep on, keep on going.